Those who refuse the gift of eternal life are condemned to wander in the darkness of eternal night. Coming this fall from SJS Direct. Yesterday, the FBI announced that it had thwarted a plan by a group of white militiamen to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Now, this alleged plan to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer was infiltrated by the FBI, who arrested several of these white militiamen before they could take any action. And many are seeing this as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of this alleged plan to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, I see yet another incident in America's ongoing man crisis, because when I look at the behaviors of these individuals, they are very similar to the beta males I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And these beta males had become ticking time bombs as the result of the lockdowns of the COVID-19 pandemic. And it seems like these beta males wound up getting the fuse set off for the anger that they were simmering and boiling in for years. And that fuse was set off, letting this ticking time bomb start its countdown as a result of Gretchen Whitmer's policies in the state of Michigan. Because during the lockdowns of the COVID-19 pandemic in the state of Michigan, your Gretchen Whitmer decided to escalate things and decided to impose further restrictions on Michigan residents. And these policies were so excessive, they had made it where people could not go to visit their relatives or even go to buy seeds at the local Target or Easter candy. And Americans in Michigan, they were extremely upset about these excessive restrictions in their eyes, and this is what triggered many of these beta males' anger, because they felt like their rights were becoming infringed by your Gretchen Whitmer, who they believe went too far with her policies. Even President Trump called Gretchen Whitmer and tried to tell her that her policies were too excessive. Unfortunately, Whitmer decided to insist on standing her ground, further escalating tensions in the state of Michigan. And these tensions were escalated to a point where many of these beta white males were so angered and incensed that they went to the Capitol armed with weapons and were looking to confront people inside of the State House. That's how high the tensions had escalated inside of the state of Michigan, thanks to Gretchen Whitmer's policies. But your Gretchen Whitmer, trying to appear tough, did not understand that she was creating a powder keg situation, and she was lighting a fuse inside of these beta males. And it looks like, from the appearance of what the FBI was alleging, this powder keg was having the fuse as it was trailing down and the fire was following it. It was possibly going to explode into something very, very tragic had the FBI not gotten involved. Because these beta males, oftentimes when these men feel triggered in their anger, they don't really see reality the way we all are supposed to see reality. Because your beta male usually sees the world through rose-colored glasses, and these beta males during this COVID-19 pandemic, because they lived in a rose-colored world, they thought that these restrictions were an infringement on their constitutional rights, and they thought that your Gretchen Whitmer was looking to impose a fascist state on them. And that's why some went to storm the Capitol with weapons and come there with weapons. But these beta males who were planning this kidnap scheme, they were living inside of this rose-colored idea as related to the world. And they were looking to go out here and make changes so that they could resume life in the smooth world that they had. Because according to these white males, they were used to a series of creature comforts. They were used to having certain freedoms, and they felt Whitmer's policies were infringing on their rights, and they felt that they had to take action to deal with those infringements on their rights. And they came up with this plan to kidnap the governor, and they were going to allegedly try the governor inside of their own court. So these men were living inside of their own world. And what's really troubling is these men practically were making these plans to become reality because somebody they believe disrupted their reality. And your Gretchen Whitmer, she really doesn't understand the dangers of beta males. She doesn't understand that these men are ticking time bombs, and her continuing provoking these guys created a dangerous situation. And even the government right now does not understand the dangers of beta males out here. They don't understand that beta males, when they are triggered, what happens is these men start making plans, like I talk about in my chapter, Mass Shootings and the Man Crisis. And what they do is, like these beta males here, make plans to participate in a spectrum of violent behaviors. And in many cases, these men feel justified in their actions, and they feel like it's their right to do so. And that the thing that you have to understand is that these men primarily run on feelings, not logic. Because when you're dealing with a beta male is running on emotion, and it's those emotions that have them going out here thinking that they are justified in doing harm to somebody else. And they're also, again, living in that rose-colored world, believing that they are in the right and they have the right to go out here and do these things. And they're believing that it's possible actually for them to do these things. These delusions some of these men have, like these guys had the plan to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer and then put her on trial. And then even some of them had ideas about going out here and overthrowing the government. Again, showing us the delusions that these individuals have. And this is what makes these beta males extremely dangerous, is the fact that you have a man who has a rose-colored perception of the world, a picture that looks like the real world but is not. And if you disrupt that world and bring some semblance of reality to it, this can set this guy off, and it can lead to him going out here and participating in plans to participate in a spectrum of violent behaviors. And what's really troubling about this plan to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer is that we had a good-sized group of these individuals, about 15 or 20 of these individuals, which shows me the depth of the man crisis going on in Michigan right now, and the depth and the seriousness of the man crisis as related to the COVID-19 pandemic. So people are not really looking at the bigger picture as related to these beta males, and doing things like pushing excessive restrictions can be the thing that triggers these guys into being motivated to go out here and participate in a spectrum of violent behaviors. So this isn't like 1918, and politicians really need to think about this. You have a large group of these beta males out here, 2 to 3 generations of these men who were raised either in single mother households, divorced households, or households with beta male fathers. And these males are notorious for going out here and acting on their impulses, not critically thinking, and when they are set off, they can do serious damage with their behaviors. Thankfully, we did have the FBI manage to get involved, and we managed to thwart what could have been a very tragic incident in Michigan. And thankfully, we had the Michigan Supreme Court, which struck down Gretchen Whitmer's policies as unconstitutional, and this diffused an extremely tense situation in the state of Michigan. But when I look at the bigger picture of this incident in Michigan, it shows how you really have to be careful with these beta males, because these beta males, anything can set them off, and the constant expressive policies of people like Gretchen Whitmer can be the thing that can lead to a very tense situation exploding, similar to what we got with the George Floyd riots. And this could have gone really bad, and this is something that I think people really need to think about, especially in some of these blue states where they want to continue pushing these kinds of policies, because if you push people too far, you have to understand there's a large population of beta males out there, and you may go from thinking these restrictions are helping people to creating a powder keg situation that may wind up exploding and blowing up in the face of all of these politicians who want to appear to be fighting COVID-19, but then may wind up having to fight in dealing with the riots and chaos that erupts as a result. So a lot of people really need, as I see it, to really take a chill pill, pull back, because when you have high tensions as related to the 50% of the country being unemployed, and you have people who don't even know where they're going to get the money to pay their rent or even be able to feed themselves, you have a situation where you have lots of people who feel like they have nothing to lose. And when you have a group of beta males who have nothing to lose, they become a clear and present danger. And that's something many of your politicians really need to think about in this era of COVID-19 before they start imposing further restrictions on people's movements. Because when you have, again, large populations of beta males and they have no ability, no investment in the economy, no ability to feed themselves, no ability to know what they're going to have the next day, you have, again, a serious powder keg. And that powder keg, if you set it off, can explode, because when you have beta males who are simmering and boiling in anger, and some of them have access to weapons, this is not going to end well. And your Gretchen Whitmer, thank God, better thank God, because the FBI saved her life, and it probably possibly saved a major situation from setting off in that area. So I look at that whole Gretchen Whitmer situation, and it's something that people really need to look at, because the man crisis, as I said in the book, if it gets any worse, it could turn into something, into a civil war type situation. And this situation is one of those ones that people really need to start taking seriously, because if you push too far, you may wind up with not only having to deal with COVID-19, but more of these beta males and their spectrum of violent behaviors. Now, this video will not be monetized, and I need your support to continue making more videos like this to help people understand the man crisis. So if you could donate to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App, it would really be greatly appreciated. And if you want to learn more about the dysfunctional behavior of ticking time bombs like beta males and learn what sets these guys off, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find it on Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, ISIS, All That Glitters. The goddess next door takes on a bikini-clad bank robber in this action-packed, all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS, All That Glitters in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.